Have you ever found yourself just stuck in a conversation, trying really hard to get why someone believes something, especially when it feels, totally different from how you see things?
Yeah, it can feel like you're talking past each other, right? Like you're in this thick fog.
Exactly. But what if there was a way through that, like a compass, maybe a structured way to really connect and understand?
Mm-hmm.
Today, we're actually setting a course into something called Compassionate Epistemology, understanding needs and beliefs.
Sounds intriguing.
It is. It's not just a concept, it's a framework, a practical guide, really, for having these deep, genuinely empathetic conversations.
And our main charts for this journey.
We're primarily looking at the compassionate epistemology, understanding needs and beliefs, document itself, and also its partner, the Compassionate Epistemology Alpha Guide. It gets quite practical.
Right. And we should definitely give a nod to the folks who helped shape this. A huge thanks really needs to go out to Dale and Jan. Their conversations on the CE Discord were, extensive and super insightful, really helped flesh out these ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And also a thank you to Gemini 2.5 Flash for reviewing that alpha guide and helping draw comparisons with things like Street Epistemology. We'll get into that.
Yeah, that comparison is key.
Definitely. So for you listening, think of this deep dive as your mission briefing, maybe. We want to give you a shortcut.
A shortcut to what, exactly?
To really grasping not just what compassionate epistemology is, but crucially how it's different from other methods you might know, like Street Epistemology.
Okay.
And importantly, you'll hopefully get a feel for when you might use each approach, how to use them to get these profound insights into why people do and believe what they do.
Like reading the hidden currents in a conversation.
That's a great way to put it. Exactly.
Okay, let's unfurl the sails then. Unpack this. Compassionate epistemology, or CE, what's at its heart?
At its heart, CE is really designed to help you explore what's underneath the surface.
Underneath.
Yeah, the deep motivations, we often call them needs in this context, and the beliefs that are actually driving someone's actions, their perspectives, their feelings.
So it's moving beyond just the argument topic itself.
Way beyond. It's not about winning an argument or persuading someone. It's about getting past those sometimes superficial back and forth.
Right.
To genuinely uncover the root of why someone thinks or feels a certain way.
And how does it do that? What are the main goals?
Well, the primary objectives really center on empathy and curiosity. Genuine, radical curiosity.
Radical curiosity.
Yeah, wanting to understand someone's inner world from their perspective. Asking, why is this important to you? Not just, why do you believe that?
Okay, so empathy and curiosity. What else?
Mutual understanding is huge. It's designed for two people, actively listening, exploring together, creating this kind of shared space.
Safe space.
A safe space, exactly, where both people feel heard. And interestingly, a big outcome is personal growth.
For both people.
Potentially, yes. By digging into those underlying needs and beliefs, you gain insights into yourself and to the other person. It can lead to real shifts in perspective, maybe new strategies for dealing with things. And while it's not like a direct conflict resolution technique.
Right. It's not therapy.
No, definitely not therapy. But by getting to those core issues, it can indirectly really help resolve disagreements or figure out tricky problems.
So it sounds less about quick fixes or telling someone what to do.
Much less.
And more about empowering people. Giving them, and maybe yourself, more self-awareness.
Yeah.
A deeper understanding of others.
That's it, precisely. And that understanding, that awareness, really lays the foundation for healthier relationships, more effective action in your own life.
Makes sense. Okay, now, the crossroads. This is where I think it gets really interesting for a lot of folks listening.
Yeah.
Street Epistemology,
Okay.
SE. Many people are familiar with it. How does compassionate epistemology compare? How does it build on it, or where does it differ?
Great question. It's a really important comparison. Let's chart it out. Street Epistemology, SE, its primary focus is on the methods.
Methods people use to form beliefs.
Exactly. How reliable are the methods someone used to arrive at a particular conviction? SE asks, essentially, how do you know that?
Okay, so it's about the justification.
Right. The goal is really about fostering critical thinking, intellectual humility, getting people to examine their own reasoning, their epistemic foundations, their way of knowing.
And how does it do that? What's the method?
It heavily relies on Socratic questioning, asking those open-ended, non-confrontational questions.
Like what evidence would change your mind? That kind of thing.
That's a classic SE question, yes. Often uses things like confidence scales, too. How confident are you on a scale of 1 to 10? And the person asking usually maintains neutrality. They don't push their own beliefs.
It's like shining a light on the structure holding up the belief.
That's a good analogy. Now, compassionate epistemology, CE, you could see it as an evolution, maybe, or perhaps a different kind of dive.
Okay, how so?
While SE looks at how a belief is formed, CE goes further. It explores the why.
The why, meaning the motivations.
The underlying motivations, yes, those needs we talked about and the beliefs connected to them. It asks, why is this belief or action important to the person? And there's a much stronger explicit emphasis on empathy.
So it's not just the logic, it's the feeling, the need behind it.
Exactly. It asks, what about this is truly important to you? The goal shifts more towards mutual understanding, personal growth, that compassionate connection, creating that safe space for exploring inner stuff, maybe unresolved issues.
And the methodology reflects that.
Yes. CE integrates ideas from nonviolent communication, NVC.
Ah, okay. Focusing on feelings and needs.
Right. Identifying universal human needs and feelings, rather than getting stuck in judgments or blame. Empathy and active listening are absolutely central, making sure the person feels deeply heard.
Okay, let's try that analogy you mentioned earlier. Someone believes they must work 16-hour days. How would SE approach that?
With SE, you might ask something like, okay, what evidence suggests working 16 hours is the most effective way to reach your goals?
Focusing on the effectiveness, the evidence for that belief.
Correct. The reliability of the method, essentially.
And with CE, same person, same belief.
With CE, the questions shift course. You might ask, what about working those 16 hours feels really important to you?
Getting at the values.
Exactly. Or what feelings come up when you imagine working less?
Exploring fears or obstacles.
Then maybe deeper. What needs might you be trying to meet by working so much?
They're the needs. Security. Achievement.
Could be anything. That's what you explore. And then perhaps, are there other ways, other strategies you could explore to meet those needs that might feel more sustainable?
So it's much more focused on the person's inner landscape.
Yeah.
The needs, the feelings driving that behavior.
Precisely. The human element, the motivations behind the work ethic, not just the logic of the work ethic.
Okay, so boiling it down for someone listening, when would you lean towards SE and when towards CE? Subscribing is the only way to keep the cows from learning TikTok dances?
Oh!
Like, oh my God.
The stakes have been raised.
I know, it's like we have to save the world
Yeah, we have to protect the internet.
from dancing cows.
Well, SE is fantastic when your main concern is the intellectual side. The validity, the reasoning, the evidence for a belief.
Right.
CE comes in when you sense there's more going on emotionally or psychologically, when you want to understand the deeper why, the needs, the feelings tied to the belief. It aims for that more complete picture, driven by empathy.
And can you switch between them? Like start with SE and move to CE?
Absolutely. That's a really important point. If you start exploring the how with SE and you realize, hang on, there's a lot of emotion here, or this seems tied to a deeper need, you can definitely pivot.
So you need that awareness during the conversation.
You do. It's about discerning what's most needed in that moment. Is it clarity on the reasoning, or is it deeper understanding and connection?
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So let's get practical. How does CE actually work? You mentioned a framework.
Yes, there's a structured approach, though it's meant to be flexible. The guide uses some cool nautical metaphors like a chart for navigating the conversation.
But you don't have to be rigid about it.
Not at all. It's adaptive, but generally it follows a kind of 5-step process. Think of it as a roadmap for your deep dive.
All right, step 1.
Step 1 is onboarding. This is basic setup. You establish the topic you want to explore, agree on the goal for the conversation, and crucially, get consent.
Just making sure everyone's on board, literally.
Exactly. Like, hey, would you be open to exploring this topic with me for a bit? Simple as that.
Okay, step 2.
Step 2 is importance. Here you drop anchor, so to speak. You dig into why this topic actually matters to the person.
Their values, maybe past experiences?
Yeah, their values, experiences, how it impacts them. You're uncovering the personal significance. Asking things like, what about this is really important to you?
Got it. Step 3.
3 is obstacle. This is where you look at what makes the situation difficult or complex.
Like what's getting in the way?
Exactly, including any ambivalence the person feels. Maybe they see both sides. You might ask, what makes this feel complicated, or what's tough about this for you? It's like navigating tricky currents or reefs.
Okay. Importance, obstacle. What's next?
Step 4 is strategy. Now you're setting the sails again. This is collaborative. You work together to develop potential actionable steps.
But not just brainstorming anything.
No, you're also critically examining the beliefs behind those strategies, asking, okay, what do we realistically think we can achieve here? Or how would we know if this strategy is working?
Grounding it in reality.
Right. And finally, step 5 is docking, bringing the ship safely into harbor.
Wrapping things up.
Yeah, providing a space for review, reflection, getting feedback, making sure the conversation feels complete, acknowledging anything that came up. Questions like, how does this feel for you now? Or does this path seem achievable?
Okay, onboarding, importance, obstacle strategy, docking. That seems pretty clear. But conversations aren't always smooth sailing, right?
Definitely not.
What happens if something deeper comes up? Some kind of emotional snag or unresolved issue that doesn't quite fit that flow.
That's where the guide introduces a really neat concept. Buoys.
Buoys. Like markers in the water.
Exactly like that. They're indicators, signals that pop up, suggesting there might be an unresolved issue or an unmet need lurking beneath the surface.
Okay, give me some examples. What does a buoy look like in conversation?
Well, it could be a strong judgment, someone saying, that's just wrong, or they should never do that, without much explanation. That intensity is often a buoy.
Okay.
Or maybe should statements about themselves, like, I should always be happy, or I must get this right. Those often signal rigid internal rules or fears.
What else?
Even things like hesitations or pauses. A significant pause where someone seems to be struggling can indicate deeper processing or unresolved feelings. Or expressions of grieving or loss, maybe frustration or blame pointed outwards. Even motivational language like, I have to do this.
So you notice one of these buoys. Then what? Do you just stop the 5 steps?
Not necessarily stop, but you might pause the main flow and shift into what the guide calls the ABCD cycle. It's a mini loop for exploring that buoy more deeply.
ABCD. Okay, what does that stand for? Yeah.
A is for awareness. First, you become aware yourself, ground yourself, and then you help the speaker gain awareness of their own emotional state or the narrative they're in. You also make a conscious decision here. Do we explore this buoy now? Is it relevant? Is the person willing?
Okay, so awareness and a decision point. If you decide yes.
Then you move to B for buoy. This is where you explicitly explore it. You gently probe the underlying beliefs, the feelings, the needs connected to that buoy you spotted. You're asking, what's going on underneath that strong feeling? Or what need might not be met here?
So you dive down to look at the anchor holding the buoy.
Good analogy, yes.
Yeah.
Then comes C for coins.
Coins, like treasure.
Exactly. As you explore the buoy, insights will emerge. Revelations about motivations, maybe links to past experiences, sources of confusion. These are valuable coins insights gained. You acknowledge them, gather them. They might be useful later, maybe in the docking phase.
Okay, awareness, buoy, coins. What's D?
D is discernment. This is another decision point, guiding the next step. Based on what you found exploring the buoy, what do you do now?
Like, go back to the main 5 steps.
That's one option. Or maybe you need to delve even deeper into the same buoy if there's more there. Or maybe you realize it's time to gracefully exit the conversation if it's getting too heavy or off track.
And this is also where you might recognize if maybe professional help is needed.
Crucially, yes. Discernment includes recognizing if the issues are persistent, maybe severe, and if guiding the person towards professional resources is the most compassionate next step.
Wow, okay. That ABCD cycle adds a whole other layer of depth and flexibility. It really helps you navigate those complex moments without getting lost.
It does. It helps address the core stuff while keeping the conversation contained and purposeful. It's not just a checklist. It's about that genuine, empathetic journey into understanding.
So, wrapping this up a bit, what are the absolute key principles someone needs to keep in mind if they want to practice compassionate epistemology effectively? Your journey to deeper understanding starts here. NavigatingBeliefs.com. Sign up. It's free.
So it's not just learning, it's an adventure.
Yeah, like a quest for knowledge.
Well, a few things are fundamental. Active listening is paramount. You can't understand if you're not truly listening.
Goes without saying, but crucial.
Absolutely. Then there's that radical curiosity we mentioned. Approaching it all with a genuinely open mind, free from assumptions, wanting to discover the truth behind what someone's saying.
Not just waiting to jump in with your own point.
Exactly. Which leads to the next one. Focus on understanding, not persuading. This is a huge mindset shift for many people. The goal isn't to win or change their mind. It's just to get where they're coming from.
Understanding first.
Understanding first. And finally, a really important one, recognition of limits.
Limits, meaning?
Knowing when not to pursue a buoy. Maybe the timing's wrong. Maybe the person is resistant. Maybe it's just not relevant. Or maybe it's territory you're not equipped to handle.
Like the discernment point about professional help.
Exactly. Recognizing your own limits as a facilitator and knowing when to step back or guide someone elsewhere is part of being compassionate.
That makes sense. So at the end of the day, CE is really about truly understanding, getting where someone is coming from, fostering that self-awareness in yourself and others.
Yeah, and through that understanding, you unlock the potential for more effective action, better problem solving, and ultimately healthier, more connected relationships.
We've definitely covered a lot of ground, sailed quite a journey in this deep dive.
We have.
We started by unpacking the core of compassionate epistemology that focus on needs and beliefs. Then we charted its course next to street epistemology, seeing how SE focuses on the how, and CE dives into the why.
The logic versus the landscape, maybe.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
And finally, we navigated through the CE framework itself, the 5 steps, those crucial buoys, and the ABCD cycle for going deeper.
It's a rich framework.
It really is.
So maybe a final thought for everyone listening. Just consider how often your conversations tend to stay on the surface. What might actually change in your relationships, maybe even in how you understand yourself, if you consistently tried to apply these principles? If you looked for those deeper needs and beliefs that are always, always at play.
That's a powerful question to sit with. What lies beneath the surface of our everyday interactions? Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into compassionate epistemology.
Thank you.
We really hope this exploration gives you some new tools, maybe some new perspectives for having richer, more understanding, and ultimately more compassionate conversations in your own life.